This is a quick video on how to do a quick GREP search if your book is chapter numbers, just like this. So these are set up as heading ones, and I could probably go through all of them are probably heading ones, but in a lot of cases people don't even use styles. This person did. However, I'm going to pretend like they didn't. Okay, so I'm going to do this quick and easy GREP search to find and replace all chapter numbers and set the paragraph style to our chapter title heading. Okay, so to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to bring up the Find Change menu, and we are going to click on GREP. All right, so you have text, GREP, glyph, and object. We are just looking at the GREP. Now, you can actually set these up as saved GREP searches. So next time you come in to do this particular search, everything's already set up. And all you have to do is come up here and do a query, and it puts everything in. So you don't have to do it again. You just have to run it. All right, so I don't have it set up as a query yet, so we are going to set that up. So here we go, chapter, and then because they are all numbers, if we put chapter 1, it's only going to find everything that has chapter 1. So it would find chapter 1, chapter 10, chapter 11, chapter 12, and so on. So we want it to find all numbers. So in this little @ symbol here, what you're going to do is open that up, and you're going to go to wildcards. Okay, so the GREP wildcard, we're going to select no digit, and that's going to put a \D. So you can, if you're good at memorizing these things, you can remember the \D stands for digit. Okay, so next we're going to say, well, if I just run it right now, it's only going to find chapter 1 through 9 because it's only looking for one digit. So we're going to change this. We're actually going to say repeat this one digit one or more times. Okay, and then we want this end paragraph mark because just in case, you never know, especially if you're doing nonfiction where they may have referenced in chapter 10, so-and-so talks about blah, 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 blah. So if I would run this in a nonfiction book that had that, it would replace those instances. So that entire paragraph that reference was in would now become a chapter title. So it's good to be in the habit of putting an end to it. So we're just going to go here and add end of paragraph. Well, change to, we want it to change it to exactly what it found because the only thing we're doing is changing the style. So in our little menu here, we're going to go down to found and found text. Now one day I'll get into more details on the found 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 blah. That can be come in very handy with more complex GREP searches. And if you're familiar with web design and running regular expressions off of a website, GREP and regular expressions are the same thing. So you'll just have to kind of learn InDesign's way of using regular expressions. All right, so we're going to keep exactly what we find. The find format is actually, we don't need to fill anything in that field. Okay, this is just in case they didn't set all those chapter titles to those chapter 1 headings. So here I'm going to change the format. I don't want any character style applied at all. Sometimes authors will make their chapter titles bold. This is just another way that I can remove it as I'm going. And then our paragraph style, we are going to change to chapter title because that's what we want those all set. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, some people will always click find next and because they're worried and do one at a time, but I know this works. I'm not too worried about it. So what I'm going to do is save my query, chapter numbers set to chapter title. Okay, All right, so now remember we have chapter number here and chapter title. The way I use these two styles is if a book includes a chapter number as well as a chapter title, the chapter number gets the chapter number style. But if the book doesn't have both, it only has one, just the chapter numbers, I always assign those as chapter title because those are going to come in bigger as my predefined style is set up that way. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a change all. And search is completed, 33 replacements made. So now all of those chapter numbers all the way to 33, which is right here, is set to chapter title. Now, because this book does not have chapter number is how the template tells InDesign to break pages. But since we don't have chapter number, we need to go in and manipulate the chapter title style so that the chapter numbers fall on the next page. So all you have to do that is go to chapter title, edit chapter title, and we're in the paragraph styles. And what we're going to do is we are going to go to keep options. Okay, and down here at the very bottom, it says start paragraph. We want to start paragraph on next page. And so what that does is that puts all our chapter titles exactly where they need to be on the next page. Okay, now I'm going to show you another quick tip. I'm going to go ahead and set all of these to the master page. And you can do a select all and clear these if you want. This can be time consuming. Hopefully InDesign didn't freeze on me. Okay. I've been doing a lot on my computer today. It's probably really tired, just like me. Okay, so now we want to clear out, I want to just do a quick search for something. We want to search for text. Okay. I don't believe this book has any block quotes or text or any special formatting. I'm just going to do a quick look over just to make sure. It's one of the negative things when you're doing books of somebody else. You don't know how they structured it. And I typically ask if they have any text, text formatting or any block quotes or anything like that. She didn't mention it, and I usually ask my authors to, let's say this was a text, I usually have them come in and say text, and then come in right here and, closing tag in text, because this helps me a great deal. So I did tell her that, so maybe she does not have any, so I'm not too concerned about it right now. But anyway, so you can do a select all and clear all the overrides, which is all of this teal stuff. But another thing that you can do is you can just run a search. Okay, so all of these are set to normal, and we need them to be chapter text. So we're going to click on normal, and we're going to delete normal, and we are going to say we want to replace normal with chapter text, and it'll go through and change all of that text. Now, sometimes you get lucky and it automatically clears these overrides when you do that. In most cases, it does not. So I am going to tell you how to run a search so you can clear them automatically. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our Find menu, Find Change menu. We're going to clear out Find What and Change To. Those are going to be blank. and we are going to find format, chapter text. We are going to leave character styles empty. We're not going to put anything there. Okay, we don't want to put anything there because if we tell it to do something with the character styles, it's going to get rid of the italics that I've already set by running the prep text script. So here we're going to go to change format. We're going to leave character style any style, and we're going to tell it to replace chapter text. You're like, okay, so you're just telling it to replace chapter text with chapter text. It's just going to replace it with itself, right? So watch this. Bingo, our overrides are gone. So that was quick and easy. All right, so you might say, well, why is this one still showing the override? Well, this one is set to a different style. And that's something that you'll need to pay attention to, especially if you're doing formatting for clients, is when we import a document from Word, all of the word styles that come through are going to be down at the bottom on the paragraph styles panel as well as the character styles panel. And you will find a lot of documents will come in with all of these random character styles. I had a nonfiction book that I was working on a couple of months ago, and it had 900 different character styles. The good news for me is that most of them were empty, so I was able to clear them out. So that's just something to look into, is to really pay attention to those character styles that have come in with the Word document and clear any out that has served no purpose. A lot of times if people copy text from a website and paste it into their document, there is hidden text that comes along with it that doesn't show up in a Word document, but it's hidden in the code. And a lot of times that'll create these random character styles. And sometimes those character styles will have fonts embedded in it. It will have sizes, it will have underline, it will have a bunch of wacky stuff that is not needed. So it's important to review those. So my next thing I'll do for this particular document is I will review all of these extra paragraph things that are in here. And actually we could probably delete heading 1 because we don't have any more of those. So in looking at this, it looks like para 01 may be a scene break. So what we're going to do is we're just going to come in here and look for para 01. We're just going to scroll through them. All right, so as you're seeing what I'm seeing, most of these everything I'm seeing so far looks like a scene break. Okay, so I can actually delete this style and replace it with scene break, which is already in my template. Okay, now there's still an override. And sometimes InDesign is just stupid. So what are we going to do? We are going to say replace scene break. I love you, InDesign. I promise I do. Replace scene break. We're going to go ahead and say no character style because just in case there's a random bold or italics in any of those, we don't want that. And then we're going to replace it with itself and do a change all. And so that turns those scene breaks into what I have set to a scene break. All right, so now I'm going to take a look at this para 02 and do the same thing. We don't need anything in the character style. Then we're going to scroll down here to para 02. All right, so this one was para 02, and I know I will apply a first. All right, so these are just kind of random. Yeah, this means nothing. So what we're going to do is we're just going to delete para 02 and replace it with chapter text. And then we are going to look for para 07 and then para 08. Okay, so I am just going to assign this to chapter text because it was kind of pointless. So, all right, there was only one. And you'll find that a lot. You'll just find these random ones occasionally. Okay, so here is a note. I didn't miss it because of, hopefully that other one wasn't a note. Let's go back there. Always would rather be safe than sorry. So we're going to delete and redo that. And then we need to find 07 again. I just want to make sure it's not a note because sometimes those little things can get missed and a client will be upset. All right, so context is what I'm looking for. So sipping wine and examining her reflection, she tortured herself with the question that gnawed relentlessly at her, the question that kept her up at night. Why had she been able to forgive Sean so easily and not Frank? Why Sean? Okay, so that is nothing. That we didn't need a note or anything. That's just regular chapter text, so I'm going to delete that. And now we're going to go back to chapter para 08 and search. We're just going to go ahead and clear this one because it was the only one. All right, so on this one, what we're going to do, I have these block quote styles set up. And we are just going to make this a block quote first line and a block quote last line. Okay, now if you look at it, this is off. Okay, and notice in our styling, all right, this is block quote first line. Now, if you do not have this toolbar up here, to gain access to this toolbar, go to Window Control or Control-Alt-6. We'll toggle that off. So if you don't have a lot of screen real estate and you don't want that on all the time, you can toggle that on and off. I have a big monitor, so I keep that toolbar. It's like my baby. So anyway, that toolbar is going to give you information on whatever you have. So for this line, this is block quote first line. So this is what block quote first line is. So we're going to look. We actually want this to be centered. And I'm going to center it on the page. So if you notice, this was 0.5. So it indented in 0.5, and then the right indent was 0.25. So now I'm going to do 0.25 just so it's even. And then I'm going to call this new style block quote centered first line, or block quote centered line. So that's my new style. And then I am going to call this last line, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the 0.25 left indent. I'm going to remove the first line indent because then it still wouldn't look centered. And then we're going to center it. And then we're going to call this one block quote centered last. Okay. Now, you could have just done something a little different, but try to stick to the same conventions. Like I could have just done block quote centered, and that way if I ever have another block quote later on that needs to be centered that's in the middle, I could have used it, and then I could have set this to chapter text space above. But do it how your mind works. Do it logically for you so that when you go back in later, you'll understand your style settings. So you don't have to do them the way I do them. Just do what works for you. All right, so we don't have any more para 8, so we're going to just delete that out. And that's it. I just wanted to show you those quick couple of things, and I'm just going to go back to formatting this document.